I'm John Dennis. I'm running against Nancy Pelosi.
We have the most beautiful state and one of the most beautiful places in the world, and people are leaving.
I'm gonna catch you when all the cameras aren't around, and I'm gonna you up. I'm tired.
He's the chairman of the San Francisco GOP, and he's running against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Step back, everyone.
Okay, everybody. Welcome to the John Dennis Report. Thanks for coming in. We're a little bit darker than we normally are because one of the light bulbs just blew out, and we don't have any extras. I ordered some spares just now, but actually I got to look on this screen to tell. I'm sort of digging the light. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. We'll go back to the two-light system and then see how it works out. Well, thanks for joining me today. I'm grateful that you're here. We've got a lot to cover, so we'll just jump right into it. Actually, before we do, I do want to mention that that we are grateful that you're here, but we'd also love it if you would subscribe on YouTube at the John Dennis Report, the John Dennis Report on Facebook, at Real John Dennis on Twitter and on Instagram. So please join us there and help us help subscribe and keep up to date on our latest videos and updates on the campaign, the John Dennis for Congress campaign versus Nancy Pelosi. So anyway, great stuff. Thanks for joining. I did want to start today with the I forget what round it is. It might be round 16 in the Rand Paul versus Fauci argument. So today Rand Paul had Dr. Fauci on at a Senate committee hearing discussing masks. And it's funny, timing is interesting because I had a similar question related to Donald Trump, which I'll get to in a minute, that I put out on Twitter and got a lot of responses. In fact, it was interesting. It wasn't quite ratioed, but it was, there were like maybe, 2 likes for every 1 response. Typically, you get a lot more likes than responses. People were on both sides of the issue. But in terms of Fauci and Rand, my question is that why is it that people who have already been infected are getting the vaccine? Because when you get infected and you recover from it, that means that you've built up the antibodies so that you can't get reinfected. There are a couple of cases where people have, but it's really rare. And then by the same token, if you've been infected and recovered, or if you've received the vaccine, why do you need masks? And what's interesting is that Dr. Fauci, who, by the way, I've actually kind of taken it. I really haven't said anything. A lot of people have been, jumping on him and calling him all sorts of names. I've been listening to what he says and kind of cutting him some slack, but no more, because what he's doing is really slippery. And it is, it is not honest. It is actually evident now, even though he seems reasonable, that he's got an agenda. There's something funky going on. So Mario, let's cue up this video. We got a couple of segments from the Senate hearing this morning that I would love for you to hear. And at this one, in this segment, you're going to see Rand Paul questioning Dr. Fauci about this topic. It should start at, okay, yeah, go ahead, get going there.
Significant numbers of reinfections of patients previously infected or previously vaccinated. What specific studies do you cite to argue that the public should be wearing masks well into 2022?
I'm not sure I understand the connection of what you're saying about masks and reinfection.
Okay, let me just stop this right here for a second. First of all, why would a doctor not understand what he's talking about, masks and reinfection? He knows damn well what Rand Paul is talking about. If you've been infected, you've built up the antibodies, why would you have to wear a mask? Okay, get started there. Go ahead, Mario. Light it up again. And then we'll stop it at 2:38.
who have never been infected before.
You're telling everybody to wear a mask, whether they've had an infection or a vaccine. What I'm saying is they have immunity, and everybody agrees they have immunity. What studies do you have?
Okay. Do you get what he's saying here? There's got to be some reason why a doctor would tell an infectious, an epidemiologist and infectious disease doctor, why would he tell people to wear a mask after they've been infected? What studies does he have? Notice he's not attacking him personally. He's just asking him which studies that he has.
People who have had the vaccine or have had the infection are spreading the infection. If we're not spreading the infection, isn't it just theater?
No, it's
You have
not.
the vaccine and you're wearing 2 masks. Isn't that theater?
No, that's not. Here we go again with the theater. Let's get down to the facts.
Okay. You get the point now? So now, Fauci is actually talking about, he's, Rand is pressing him, and Fauci gets insulted by the theater thing. It's a very legitimate question, and Fauci knows damn well that it's legitimate, and he wants to jump over it. And by the way, watch his video if you like. It's on YouTube. It's on the Hill. And watch this whole segment for yourself, because we're going to jump over it because he doesn't really respond. What he comes up with is that there are, after Rand keeps pressing him, he starts talking about variants of COVID, of the coronavirus, that are in South Africa and a couple of strains that have been in California, which haven't really, caught on. There's just a few of them out there. And the infections, the reinfections on the variants are, there are a couple of cases in South Africa, but that's it. So why is he asking people to wear masks? Not just one mask, by the way. Why is he asking them to wear 2? So we're going to jump ahead here towards the end, but not quite finish it. Go ahead, Mario.
Is there that there are significant reinfections with hospitalizations and death from the variants? None in our country. 0.
Well, because we don't have a prevalent of a variant yet. We're having one. Can I finish? We're having 117 that's becoming more dominant.
Policy based on conjecture.
No,
You
it-
have the
it isn't based on
going to get
conjecture.
variants.
Can I say something? It is exactly based on conjecture. We haven't had cases of it yet. He's making Fauci saying that something might happen in the future. Well, shit, an asteroid might fall out of the sky. Should we all walk around wearing helmets? This is ridiculous. And Fauci is just, doing some dance here. This is an embarrassment to his profession. This is an embarrassment to the people who are citing this guy as the leader on pandemics, and he's trying to pass gibberish off to a physician. Rand Paul is a physician.
So you want people to wear a mask for another couple years. No. You've been vaccinated and you parade around in 2 masks for show.
No.
You can't get it again. There's virtually 0% chance you're going to get it, and yet you're telling people that have had the vaccine, who have immunity. You're defying everything we know about immunity by telling people to wear a mask who've been vaccinated. Instead, you should be saying there is no science to say we're going to have a problem from the large number of people being vaccinated. You want to get rid of vaccine hesitancy? Tell them they quit wearing their mask after they get the vaccine. You want people to get the vaccine? Give them a reward instead of telling them that the nanny state's going to be there for 3 more years and you got to wear a mask forever. People don't.
There you have it. Why in God's name is this guy doing this? What is the point of making people wear masks into infinity? Why is he pushing this? Well, these guys love control. People love to get in front of the cameras. I'm in front of a camera as I say this, but they want to be in front of the cameras. They want to seem like they're smart. They want to get their accolades. They want the praise of the establishment, and maybe some other reasons about which I will not speculate because I don't know. Plenty of other people do that, but for whatever the reasons are, this has nothing to do with science. If you get the vaccine, you should stop wearing a mask. It's that simple. Now, what's odd about that, what's difficult from a public policy point of view, is that how do we know if people stop wearing masks? How do we know who's had the vaccine and who hasn't? And by the way, it's a law. It's not a law anyway. It's an option for the individual to choose whether or not to wear a mask. But but there is obviously a certain amount of social pressure. So if people stop wearing masks and other people start giving them a hard time about not wearing the mask, and someone says, "Well, listen, I'm not wearing the mask because I've had the vaccine," it creates difficulty. So the next thing is, if we wear the vaccine, do we have to wear blue armbands in order to show that's why we don't have to wear masks? So that's where the difficulty is. But the problem, the point is that this is not the role of Dr. frickin' Fauci. This is not his concern. He wants to treat people like children, and he wants to be in charge of them, and it's unbelievably inappropriate. And we should, frankly, I'm sorry to say, we're at the point now where we really need to ignore Dr. Fauci. I know many of you have been ahead of the curve. I've on this, and have said, ignore him starting last summer, maybe last spring. I have been a little more lenient with him because it's a difficult position. But what he testified to today is complete nonsense. And his pushing back on Rand Paul is a completely personal matter because Rand is calling him out on the carpet on legitimate stuff, and he just doesn't want to give an inch to Rand Paul. And that's a shame. It's not his role. It's not his position. He shouldn't be behaving that way. And this brings me up to the second topic, which is yesterday I put out a tweet. I'd heard Donald Trump's interview, former President Trump's interview with Maria Bartiromo. And in it, it hadn't been made. It'd been made public, but he hadn't confirmed it. But it had been made public that Donald Trump and Melania Trump both received the vaccine in the White House in December. And I thought that was strange when I heard it back then, but didn't say anything because it hadn't been confirmed. But yesterday, or a couple of days ago, in an interview with Maria Bartiromo, she said, "You received the vaccine. Are you telling other people to do it?" And then Donald Trump went on to tell people to get the vaccine, that it's very safe. So he didn't correct her, which one could assume means that he did in fact get the vaccine. And my first thought was related to this Dr. Fauci Rand Paul discussion was why? Why would he get it? If he had the coronavirus, which he did obviously, and if he recovered from it, that means that he has the antibodies. Why would he need a vaccine after taking it? And there was a robust discussion on Twitter once I asked that question, but in the end, here it is. Here, I mean, a lot of a bunch of likes, some retweets, some quote tweets, but a lot of people and a really robust discussion. What this doesn't show is the number of responses, and I stand by. Listen, I'm not attacking Donald Trump. I'm a supporter. I supported him, during his presidency, and I'm still a supporter, and I think he did some really great stuff. But I'm just wondering why they asked him to do it. Was it a theatrical thing? Was it a thing that he did to encourage other people to get the vaccine, to show that it was safe? What was the point of this? Because it really flies in the face of known science. They for some reason are taking a cautious approach to the reinfectability of coronavirus by saying they don't know. Well, they don't know how possible it is to get reinfected just because we haven't had that much time with coronavirus. But in general, once you get a virus and you build up the antibodies for it, you're safe. I mean, earlier, in fact, if you watch that whole segment at the beginning, antibodies stay in the system for as long as 60 years. The latest study I saw shows that the antibodies are good for at least 8 months. Well, it's at least 8 months, and it's probably a lot longer than that. So again, why would they ask Donald Trump to, take that vaccine, and why did he do it? I'm surprised. I'd love an answer to that question. It seems strange, but it might be as simple as just getting the public's trust. But then what becomes interesting is if he was trying to gain the public's trust for the vaccines, then why didn't he announce it himself? Why was it listed? Why was it published as sort of inside information? The way it was published in the news media was that Donald Trump was almost like hiding from his from getting it, and so why would that give people confidence? The whole thing doesn't make any sense, and I'd love to get an answer to it. I'll stay on top of it, and if you're interested, I'll bring it up again. But I thought that was interesting. Okay, let's sort of move on. All right. Yeah. So this is a really funny thing. Biden did an interview with George Stephanopoulos that appeared on George Stephanopoulos' Sunday morning show. And one of the topics that came up was the recent surge at the border. And Biden was like, I don't know why all these people are coming to the border now. I'm not encouraging them from coming. I didn't tell them to come. And he and George have a chuckle about it. But it's interesting that I had I'm sorry, I just got thrown off by that. So he's like, I don't understand why they're coming. I'm not soft on the border. I'm not inviting them in. I'm not welcoming them in because, Central, South American, Mexicans knew that, Donald Trump was going to be tough on the border and wasn't going to make it easy for them. So anyway, go ahead, Mario, play this video because this is really funny. This is, by the way, mind you, hold on one second before you start it. Mind you, Biden is like, I don't know why they think that I want them to surge. Okay, get started.
Idea that Joe Biden said come because I heard the other day that they're coming because they know I'm a nice guy and I want. They're showing this. Yeah. Well, here's the deal. They're not. I would in fact make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
That's so funny. Oh, man. So, anyway, this Biden and his administration they are utterly and completely clueless. I mean, this guy can't keep track of the things, of the nonsense that he said a few months ago. And I don't know. I've said this before. Joe Biden was he was a buffoon when he was in his prime. I mean, he was, he plagiarized. He told people that he was in the top half of his law class. He came in almost last in his law class. I mean, he was a congenital liar and had to drop out of the 1988 presidential race because of his plagiarism. This guy was plagiarizing Robert F. Kennedy. Okay. And so, he couldn't keep track of that. Now, here we are over 30 years later. The guy's clearly in decline. He's supposed to he can't keep track of the fibs that he told last summer. And neither can his administration. So let's move on to the next video. These guys are completely clueless. They have an enormous surge. We have people coming across the border now at twice the rate they were a year ago. And he thinks has nothing to do with him. We don't have to play this one, but if you get a chance, go into Breitbart and look at this article. This Democrat Representative Sanchez from California says that it's not appropriate for journalists to go to the border to see the children inside the holding facilities. Okay. All right, and then move on to the next one because this one I might actually play the video. Do you have it?
No.
Oh. Oh yeah. No. So then I'm sorry. There's one other thing. So then earlier today, there was a hearing with the I think he's the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, where instead of confessing to the fact that there was a problem at the border when he was being challenged by a congresswoman, he got all indignant and said, "How dare you? We have people who are working hard on the border," and da da. Da. And he basically wanted to change the topic because they are doing the same things that were being done under the Trump administration, because that's the only thing that it makes sense to do. You have to separate the kids from the adults. This Mayorkas guy was actually saying that parents are choosing to send their kids on like 1,000-mile journeys by foot alone to get into the border, to cross the border. That's insane. There's no mother who's sending her kid, I don't care how poor they are, on a 1,000-mile journey. Think about that. That's like walking from, New York to Iowa. You're going to send a 10-year-old kid on a march like that and hope that he gets across the border? No. There's trafficking going on. It's obvious what's happening. These kids are not there, or the parents are paying the cartels to get their kids across the border so that the kid can act as an anchor, that it will help the parents get across as well without having to go through the trek. This is Mayorkas. What is his name? Let me pull him up. I think he's the head of the DHS, Department of Homeland Security. Yeah. He's the Secretary of Homeland Security. I mean, this guy's clueless. Look at these videos. Watch what these guys are saying in the Biden administration, and then use your own judgment. And look, if you disagree with me, if you think that I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. But I'm just saying that, and these guys may actually say some things that are right, and they might do some good things. However, it doesn't take away from the fact that they are largely clueless, and it's because they have the wrong premises. Their approach to dealing with the border is faulty. They really want to let people in, and in fact, they were basically saying, "Don't come now, but we'll tell you when you can flood our borders and come in illegally." That's what he was saying. That's basically what Biden was saying. We'll give you the word when it's time to come in. And by the way, I think that Trump made it so that they may never be able to give that order overtly or covertly without enormous blowback, because he showed that you could really crack down on the border and get a control of immigration. Without a completed wall, he was able to do it pretty well. With a completed wall, it'd be a lot easier. But the shadow of, as I've said before, the shadow of the Trump presidency is going to be quite long, clearly, completely cover the Biden administration and then future administrations as well, because what he showed was that you can put the American people's interests first, the broader American people, not just the coastal elites and the Chamber of Commerce types who want cheap labor flooding in from Mexico. I saw an interesting tweet earlier today that said in the Biden administration, he's inviting people to come in, laborers to come in from Mexico, and sending American businesses down to Mexico. So anyway, that's what we have to look forward to, which gives me hope and optimism for 2024, assuming that we can have reasonably fair elections. We actually, I think, can take back the presidency, because I think after 4 years of this idiocy, we will be ready to return to the America First agenda. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm thankful again that you were able to join me. Please follow at Real John Dennis on Twitter and Instagram, and the John Dennis Report on both YouTube and Facebook. On YouTube, please click the subscribe button. We would like to get those numbers up, and it'll keep you updated on new content. We're doing some non-live stream content as well, and you'll be the first to get it. So thanks for joining us today, and we will see you on Monday.